Hello, Trish.
Hello, Doug. How the heck are you, my friend?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I was trying to be festive because it's our last live of the year, so I
It
wore red.
is?
It is, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
technically, unless you want to cheat on me next week on Christmas Day.
well, I may want to cheat on you on Christmas Day, but I'll try to control myself.
All right, don't let me know. Figure
Okay.
out how I'll find out. Um, and then I had a Santa hat, but believe it or not, it was stolen by some belligerent drunken Santa last year.
I do remember that. I do remember that Doug went on the Santa crawl last year
Yeah.
with a whole bunch of drunk Santas.
And Rockstar Dave stole my cap. His son wanted to start a fight with me over politics.
Oh, so this was a good old
Lovely. It
time.
was it was fun up until then, but that's why I don't have the usual Santa on. So I apologize to you, and I apologize to the audience.
They're
So
very disappointed. They all came just so that you would have a Santa hat on, and now they're over there talking bad about you.
I'm sure there was hope. So I'm going to share the link in a minute and the across the Facebook groups, and then you can tell us what the topic is. And then, but I apparently there's some breaking news. There's been an armed takeover at Nakatomi Plaza in Los Angeles, and they're monitoring the situation. But
Oh, good old Nakatomi.
sounds like it's happening in my living room. But it is
Is
my wife.
it?
My wife hurt her back, and she's home watching Die Hard.
Oh, I'm sorry she hurt her back.
Yeah, me too. But apparently, and so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there hasn't been a takeover. That is the
Fictional world of
world of the movie Die Hard, which Trish and I agree is a Christmas movie, right?
we do. We totally agree on this. It is a Christmas movie.
And then I will put a shout out for a movie I liked on Netflix right now that they're calling a modern Die Hard. It's similar in theme, but it takes place in an airport. It's
Yep.
called Carry On with the great Jason Bateman. Um, it's really good.
With
Entertaining.
Jason Bateman, who you do not think of as an action star.
No, but it's not an action star, not necessarily as a bad guy. What's up, Leanne? Oh, we
We're
know.
glad you're here.
I think we've seen you somewhere before, but thank you for coming in. We'll give you a little intro in a moment. Right now, I'm just babbling on. I apologize. But in fact, Trish,
What,
will you
darling?
tell us while I share the links, and it'll take me a moment? Will you tell us about the topic, and then we can? I think it's Leanne. We can first, and high level, tell Leanne what we're doing here, and then we'll get rolling.
Sure. So, Doug and I have been doing some research about topics that we think are important to our community. And some of them seem a little niche and a little dry. But I do think that they're really worth talking about. So we will try our very best not to make these conversations, dry and boring. But, you know, this is about sourcing strategies. And I kind of talked about this a little bit in Mastermind this morning about sourcing strategies and if you have a strategy and how you implement it. And finding the right profit margin, and the right inventory and making sure that you're selling something that kind of fits into your business and not be trying to fit your business into a new thing all of the time. I am a used clothing seller. My inventory system, my shipping system, all of my processes are made for clothing. So if I were to find a great deal on books, if they had a high enough sell-through rate and a high enough profit, I would of course figure out a way to handle it and change my systems. But it's about making sure that you're making concrete decisions business wise. So, is it worth the extra time and effort to figure out how you're going to mail something, how you're going to do it when you're already set up for XYZ? Can you just find a better XYZ? So, and I understand a lot of these topics seem a little dull, but we think they're really important. So we don't want you guys to think we just willy-nilly go through this stuff. We do try to bring you content that we think that people have asked for, people have, written into us for. So if you are interested and we'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to know what you guys want to talk about. We'd love to know if there's anybody that you'd love to see on the podcast. Love to. So please keep in touch. Let us know what you guys would like to see. And I'm sorry I froze there for a second.
That's all right. Oh yeah, we've researched hot seller topics, so these are the hot seller topics, and Trish and I are never bored, even with
Boring
sourcing
topic.
strategies and profit margins, finding the right inventory.
It's true.
Um,
Um,
so one quick thing, this is very important. Please, everybody, stop the show.
oh
Tommy,
Lord.
this is a new movie. So literally like 2024. I think it's a new Christmas movie. Let's just say that, and it's Die Hard-esque, but a totally different spin. But I think you will see the homage, as they say.
All right. Well, I look forward to watching it because God knows I love Die Hard.
And then again, if you're new here, Leanne, I hope it's Leanne. This is Reseller Tips from List Perfectly. And we get together here each week for our live, and we talk about thrilling subjects related to selling. And then obviously we also are sponsored by List Perfectly, the fantastic e-commerce solution that can help you manage your business across the board. You'll hear us do some plugs in here, but so Leanne is using this perfectly, so that's great. But ask any questions you have here, and we'll be referencing things like Listing Party, the Seller Community Podcast, the Seller Community Blog, Mastermind. That is Trish's daily call, where she is a master seller and she helps people out. I called her this morning, literally Trishy Wan Glenobi, because
Yep. It's my new name, Trishy Wan Galobi.
she did some amazing things. She opened some supermarket doors with this wave of her hand.
That was very good today, Doug.
It was very good.
All right. So let's get into it. So, Doug, when I say to you, identifying a niche, what does that mean to you? Like, what do you think of a niche? Do you think of a niche as like somebody who just sells clothing, or is it deeper than that?
So, I think, well, for me, it's kind of like to a degree,
Okay.
like what you sell something you're into, you'll be a little more passionate about it. For me, all my inventory comes from stuff I have, and I have a ton of stuff. So I'm into it. At some point, I'm into it. And some people, move around and sell what is, what comes along or what they can find or this or that. But I really like books. I sell books. I sell collectibles. Um, a friend reached out today looking for social distortion vinyl for his college aged daughter.
That was nice.
So he came to the right spot. And it is the
Did you have it?
mythological. Yeah, of course I did. It's
Okay.
the
Okay.
mythological Philip, because he's my oldest best friend, and I want to corrupt a young girl into punk rock. I'm going to send him, Trish. Hang on.
We're all waited here, Doug, with bated breath.
My signed
Oh,
and been on the wall for years. I've gotten much joy out of it, so I figure I will pass on the.
that is very nice of you, Mr. Douglas. That is so nice.
Thank you so much, Trish.
So it's interesting what you said about selling something you're passionate about, because I could care less about that. That is,
There you go.
you know what I'm passionate about, my friend? Money.
Making
you know what makes me happy? Money. You know what
money.
makes me want to do this? Money. So for me, I am not passionate about used clothing. And I would think that Crystal Mouse, who's in the chat, I don't think she's particularly passionate about used clothing. Now, am I happy that it gets things out of the landfill? Yes. Am I thankful that, yeah, Tommy, if it brings me money, I'm passionate. Am I thankful that the used clothing is getting a second look? Am I glad that somebody is searching for something and I had it? All those things make me happy. But I do not sell used clothing out of a passion. I sell used clothing out of it's a business model that I could scale relatively easily and get to where I wanted to go relatively quickly. And I agree with Leanne. A niche means to me there's a level of expertise, knowledge in that particular niche. And that is absolutely true. So if you have if you have expertise in something, if you have a hobby, if you have something that you are particularly good at, if there's something that you studied in school, that might be a niche that you should look into selling about, because I do think Leanne has a point. When you have a particular amount of knowledge in something, that can help you sell more. The thing about used clothing is, Gina, Gina, that was funny. I've had that experience, that niche. I've had that niche for a while. But I think Leanne hit it right on the nose. And for me, for what I sell, you don't really need to be an expert in it. Somebody's looking for a red used polo top in size 12, and I have the red used polo top in size 12, and my terms are the best, and I'm high enough in search, they're going to buy it from me. I don't think anyone worries, does Super Sale Trish have enough expertise to sell me this? Whereas if I'm selling a vintage, radio, or if I'm selling something that has a certain level of expertise to know about it, maybe that in that category, it does matter who you buy from. What do you think about that, Doug?
So I do, and I have a couple examples, but I am curious, Leanne, tell us what you sell.
Yes, please.
But I have a couple good examples of, niche sellers who are really knowledgeable. Jason
Yeah.
Wells, video games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Obviously, Todd's on here too. Todd sells music, and other stuff. And then Katie and Vicky. Vicky is a very knowledgeable vintage clothing seller.
Right.
He sells not necessarily streetwear, but kind
Well,
of
now,
like
she's changed. She did streetwear almost exclusively for a while. And now she's really kind of turned herself into just a used clothing seller. I think she does kind of lean towards fun t-shirts and things like that, but she is now selling, if it's used clothing and it can make her money, she is now selling it. So she has broadened her edges a lot.
And then somebody like Susie Eads, she
Right.
sells, women's bras. And
Yep.
then she's got Victorian Trading, which is I always think of, goth talk and stuff like
Yep.
that. It's a
Yep.
little bit beyond that, but that's a very, very narrow niche.
Very narrow.
And they're like Ken the Hustle Bee is a sneaker store.
Exactly.
You know.
So what's interesting about that is, I wonder if anybody other than Vicky and maybe Katie, if anybody got into those niches because they were passionate about those items. I do know Vic loves a good pinup dress. She wears them. She wears vintage clothing. She really loves the vintage look, and she wears it herself. And and I know Katie loves a fun t-shirt. So those two things kind of go hand in hand with them. But I'm wondering if anybody else we spoke about, did they get into it because they were already in that niche themselves? I can't imagine Susie Eads is selling bras because she's passionate about bras. I'm just guessing this from knowing her pretty well.
Yeah. I think
Susie,
knowledgeable.
She's knowledgeable. Oh God, yeah. But she's been doing it for 20 something years. So knowledge and passion, I think, can be a little bit of two separate things. And for me, I meant this. You know what I'm passionate about? The freaking money. Can I buy something for 50 cents and sell it for $35? That makes me happy all day long.
There you go.
I sell fashion jewelry, some precious metal, and started a few months ago. Started selling men's clothing, including ties. I'm also selling MCM glass and barware. So, Leanne, did you start with these things because you knew about them, because you were passionate, because you already studied them? We're just wondering.
And then Todd says, I wear a lot of the genre I sell. Music is a habit of collecting that turned into selling. Yeah. And, Todd's a passionate music fan, as am I. And, I was torn earlier when, like, should I give up the signed Social D record I've had forever? And I was like, you know what? It's okay. I could probably sell it and make, a couple hundred, but it's good to pass it on, especially to my best friend and his daughter, who I also know. Desiree says she loves B9 knobs.
B9 knobs.
A text from my son. Am I going to have to Google this? I'll be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. He's like, dub. I'm like,
dub.
So I'm going to Google B9 knobs and see what those are.
I think you can figure it out, Doug.
I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Tommy says, I think those niches that need knowledge are more limited. I mean, if my niche is health and beauty, I just need to know how to read the label or enter a barcode. And being your protagonist.
No, but well, Tommy, no. Let's talk about that for a second. I think you're right in some sense, right? I'm just going to buy generalized health and beauty and resell it. Does it have a good enough sell through rate? Is the turnover high enough? Can I get my money back out when I want? And if I can, I'm going to buy it and move it. That I think is a generalized reseller who's not really cares about what the health and beauty. But then I'm telling you, there are women who have whole businesses based on buying things that are like going out of stock, that are
Yeah.
not going to be made anymore. Like this lipstick is not made anymore. So I'm going to go to all of the places and buy all of that lipstick because in 6 months, the women who have been wearing this lipstick for a while are going to want it.
Yeah.
So that is the difference between a niche seller. What I just said, right, to me is the difference between a niche seller and somebody who is more opportunistic like me.
Okay. Well, and earlier I had no interest when I first started. I was selling, video games that I had, and those did well. And some collectible stuff I got rid of because I had stuff. And that's the thing. Like I said earlier, I've got probably years of stuff to sell in the garage and in storage. And I had stuff that had just been sitting in boxes for years. And I was like, well, and it's just like the example I'm going to beat to the death today is like, I've had this forever. Let's give it to a kid who's going to give it new appreciation. And
Yeah,
Todd
absolutely.
says, I'm sorry.
Oh, Lord.
Todd says, I sold an 80s vintage glass brown ladle in its original box on Etsy for $75. It's about the money on something.
True.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
yeah.
$20 is $20, Trish. Leanne said, I was at an auction house and bid on jewelry. Next thing you know, I bought so much, I ended up finding a bracelet in there that my jeweler bought for $1,400.
Oh, that's the best.
Good.
That's the best. When one thing pays for everything, that is the best.
Tommy says, touche.
Tell me. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Something that you can really like maybe you really love selling jewelry, but you can't make a living at that. That's the other thing, right? No matter how much I love genealogy, and I do, if I had a niche, it would be genealogy. I don't know how I would sell that. I don't know what I would do to sell that. I mean, it's not a hobby I could turn into something I could sell. So sometimes no matter how much you like it, it's not going to be your whole business. So you need to have filler. You need to have the ability to have extra stuff to be able to keep the money flowing because we need to be able to feed ourselves.
Well, Trish, I bet you could design with your graphic design skills. You could design a genealogy book and sell it digitally on Etsy.
I could.
There you go.
Crystal said, I think it matters more what is accessible to you over what you really love. You've got to be able to go out and get enough to build a business on. This is 100% spot on. And this is why I think that finding something to sell that you can find easily, that you can make money on, and that you have the ability to fit into a process. Meaning if you're going to be selling clothes, that you have the right kind of racks, that because when you're a seller, while that may seem like a good idea on the surface, and a lot of people are everything sellers, so I'm not knocking it, you need a lot more room and you need a lot more processes, right? Because for me, everything I have is treated the same because it can go in any one of my buckets. It can all be anywhere. It fits right in. If I started bringing in skis, if I got a great deal on skis, I don't know how the hell I would store them, how I would ship them. I only have poly bags. What would I do? I don't ship things that are breakable. So figuring out your process can sometimes also make it to what you're going to lean towards and what you're going to want to buy.
There you go. Real quick, I've got to soak up my kudos, Trish. Thank you,
Okay.
Spirit Junkie. Doug, I think it's generous to pass on the passion of music and collecting, especially if you point out the uniqueness. Oh, there's a whole story behind that. But thank you, Spirit Junkie. This is true. And this is why Trish is on YouTube. YouTube star, Trish Glenn.
Tommy, you can be on YouTube, Tommy.
Stay with jewelry, easy to ship as well. That is true.
Exactly. Very
Um,
easy.
Mini debate back up further in the comments, but Kim, Koala Trading Company, says, sometimes I find something to sell that I'm not passionate about or have knowledge about, and then find out it's worth more than I thought. So I will put in the effort to list it. Cue the Duran Duran t-shirt story.
Go ahead, Mr. Douglas.
No, it's okay. It's related to Kim, though. So,
But Kim's right. There have been lots of things that I have no interest in buying or selling, but you get a feeling once you've been doing this for a long enough time. There's some things you're like, I should look that up and make sure and you look it up and it's worth more than you think. So you buy it and then you have to put the time and the effort into it. And it's fine if it's worth a certain amount of money. And I think everyone needs to have that figure in their head. Whether it's
yeah.
$50, $100, whatever it is, you have to have a figure in your head that makes it so if an item is worth X, let's just use 100. If an item is worth $100 or more, I then can put the extra time and effort into listing it, right? Because it's out of what you normally sell. So it's going to take longer. You're going to have to do the research. You're going to have to take new photos. Because when you're in a niche, everything becomes rote. I have a pile of t-shirts. I throw one down, front, back, tag, arm, pocket. If there's any other detail, fold it up, put it in a bag, and I could do 50 listings a day very easily without, at the end, I could do 50 listings a day without it killing me. I mean, at the beginning, it tried to kill me, but if I was doing 50 different items, I'd never be able to do that. The only reason I could able to list as much as I did is because it was 50 items of the exact same thing, a t-shirt or pants or whatever. So, so having a niche allows you to list faster and allows you to have more knowledge in it. And so you get faster and better and stronger at something. And when you're an everything seller, it takes more time. And so maybe you have to have, I only sell things that are worth over a certain amount of money to make it worth it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is I have some older books, but I got them for free. So, I know a couple so far that I've probably technically could have gotten more money on, but it's like same thing as like, okay, well, you know what? Sold something to a bookstore owner the other day, and I think I could have gotten a little more for it, but I'm fine with what I got for it because it was free.
Yeah.
Leanne says, so do you find that sellers are looking for a niche to get into, creating their own or not having a niche and selling based on it's being sold nationwide? I think a little bit of, we know tons of sellers, so we know all kinds of sellers that got into it for different reasons. So,
I mean, I think that there are a lot of everything sellers, and there are a lot of everything sellers who like to pick. They love the shop. They love a yard sale. They love a flea market. They're out there shopping. They love the thrill of the hunt. And so for those people, I think they would rather sell different things because their enjoyment for them is out of the shopping. Yeah. And then I think there are two kinds of niche sellers, in my opinion. There are niche sellers like me who got into a niche because I could make money in it and it was an easy niche that I could master.
Yeah.
Not that it's not easy. Not that I don't mean that there isn't hard work, but I just meant it's easy to know the steps and where to go and how to do it. And there's an abundance of used clothing. So that was never an issue. And then I think there are niche sellers who are in a niche because it's their passion, like Doug said. They are passionate about this antique, or they're passionate about these books. They're passionate about whatever. And so they're in that niche because they're passionate about it. And the passion means more than the money, in my opinion.
And for me, I, go into books. I have a ton of books, but I also like to sell books because you've got media mail for shipping. So it's usually affordable to ship. They're pretty easy to package. You don't have to come up with, crazy different sized boxes. And again, and it's something that I'm into. And then, Todd says, I started out buying for my collecting vinyl. Then it hit me to pick it up and sell it to pay for the collection.
Right. Right. And so, and and the other thing that happens, I think, is there are people exactly like Todd's saying. So I'm thinking of Trader Don. You know, I think he was a tiki aficionado before he started selling.
Yeah.
Same with, Julie and Chris Brown. All the Trader Don and Julie and Chris Brown, which is Ohio Tiki Nuts.
Yeah.
The tiki community is a very interesting community. And so they sell lots of different products, but they're all within this genre of tiki. And, so it could be shirts, it could be mugs, it could be swizzle sticks, it could be prints, it could be mid-century modern designed furniture or, florals, things, some Hawaiian things, black velvet paintings. It is a vast amount of different stuff that they're looking for, but it all goes within this one genre. So that's the other way that you can be in a niche, but still sell many different things.
I like this question. You kind of just talked about it. So Spirit Junkie asks, Trish, could you and Doug discuss the sourcing process of atypical niches? So, the example you just gave, those guys were into that very specific culture, like tiki culture.
Right.
I used to be in the rockabilly culture in San Diego, and there's some people that live that like their whole house. Like it's
Right.
all, oh, I've got old furniture, I've got this and that, and they are in that niche. And we know some sellers too that are in it. And like whether you're a fan of something or you're actually ensconced in a culture or subculture.
Right. And what's interesting about that, I think, is that you can source from it within that culture, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go with tiki because they're my friends and I know a little bit about it. I don't do it myself, but I know enough to be able to say to you guys that they have like tiki flea markets. So they have this thing called a tiki flea, and all they have there is things that would fall within that genre. They have big get-togethers in hotels where people try different drinks, and they have bar crawls, but from like one room to another room. Not you don't leave the bar. I mean, don't leave the hotel. And people sell things. There's vendor rooms. So people are buying things, people are getting stuff. And there's fringe stuff, some Disney stuff falls into this category. Some Hawaiian music falls into this category, some Polynesian. I mean, so it's a really interesting thing. And so all of these subcultures have their own way to buy from each other. Yes, Tiki Oasis. And I'm going to go to Tiki A Go-Go this year, Todd, in April in Florida, with Julie and Chris. But for me, being able to, if you're in one of these cultures and you're interested in one of these cultures, find out those things, because you may be able to buy stuff there that you could resell on eBay. That's what Julie does. Julie goes to these things, she sells at these things, and she buys and then she resells on eBay. And, I can't tell you how many tiki bars I've been to because we're going to buy mugs. She'll be like, come on, we're going to buy mugs. We end up with like 8 tiki bars. We're walking out with all these mugs, and then she resells them on eBay. So, but I would never know that was a thing. I never would have known that that was a thing before I met Trader Don or Chris and Julie.
Yeah, and I did, because there's bleed over into music scenes, so it's interesting, some crossover.
Yeah.
And another interesting thing, though, is falling under that niche is trend spotting niches, niche. And again, like we always say, do your research. eBay sold
Yeah.
listing. Oh, is this thing selling? Google Trends, social media insights. And just what's hip and happening. Obviously, if something's big in the news, there may be an upswing in people being interested in buying those kind of things, whether it be memorabilia or related stuff.
But here's an interesting thing. I mean, there are some niches that everyone recognizes, right? Disney.
A good
You
one.
know, but the thing about Disney is there's so many people selling it. It's so vast. And now there are copies, right? People make things. You can buy fake pins from China. You can buy things that are knockoffs that say Disney or Mickey or whatever on them. But so if you're going to be in that kind of niche, you do kind of have to make yourself an expert, because those niches require a certain amount of expertise. The same with like the tiki. No one needs to be an expert in used clothing if that's what you sell, right? Like you can always, I got a pair of Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. They are worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
But if I had a Nautilus tiki mug from Trader Sam's at Disney World, they can be, depending on what color it is, depending on what run it is, depending on what shimmer the glaze has, can make all of these things worth different amount of money. So if you're in a niche that has a specific thing, you kind of have to dive into it, or make sure you know somebody who you can kind of like bounce off some questions and, say, hey, what do you think? And that is really one of the great things about our community, reseller community, I think. I think most of us are very willing to give our expertise and to help people and to say, hey, did you agree with that, Doug?
Yeah, I do. We definitely help each other out, technically, whether you're a competitor or not. And then there are, definitely sellers that are very knowledgeable in certain niches. You want to be careful with these Star Wars buyers, though.
They're very serious. There are certain niches that are very serious. Star Wars is one of them.
Star Wars is one of them. And then, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that the helping each other out, my philosophy is the better sellers are on eBay, the better it is for all of us. Because if you come to eBay and you buy something from Doug and Doug ships it to you terribly and it breaks and he doesn't have good customer service and he doesn't want to help you, you're not going to come back to eBay. And so Doug losing somebody off of eBay, because I really believe most people think of eBay as one entity. They don't think of it as all these little individual sellers. So when somebody has a terrible experience, it hurts all of us. So I really believe that the better we are, the better we all are. And it's good for the whole business.
Yeah, my friend Irish Jason, we call him that because he's Irish and his name is Jason. He's had a couple of bad experiences with eBay and he said he's not going to go back. So
yeah, that's not good.
Kind of, what are you going to do?
I know. So I just would like to say that there are a couple of ways, then you need to decide. So maybe you have a few niches you think you're interested in. Then you have to decide if it's profitable, if it's a profitable niche to go into.
Yeah.
And a couple of things come into play in that. One is it a volume-based business or is it a high value-based business? Meaning, for me, I'm a volume-based business. I am not making more than $50 on an item very often. But there are some people, I'm going to use Julie Brown, Ohio team. She has mostly high value items and then a few lower end items, but most of her stuff. So she is spending a lot more money up front than I ever have, right? My average cost is $2 or less. Sorry, Doug. I just ruined your whole career in 1 minute. So Julie is spending up for money, spending up for tiki mugs that she then will sell and make more money. But there's a lot of capital up in front. So some niches are capital driven. Do you have the money that you can expend to get into this business, into that niche? I mean.
Well, and stuff like that, and then I want to address one quick thing, but you get out there, like, let's just say tiki mugs, for example, is like a lot of that stuff is regional, and people can't necessarily get to it easily. So they'll spend a little more, they'll buy it, and especially if there's an event or a particular venue or something like that. And then Susan says, and I think this is a great idea. Susan says, last minute Christmas gifts, please buy eBay gift cards.
That's a good idea.
So what I used to do is my son and I, we would go to like different spots and we would move all the eBay gift cards around and cover all the other gift cards, especially the Amazon gift cards, even though we love everybody, but we're particularly fond
we love everybody except for Amazon.
There you go. No, what do you do? Almost anything is profitable if you can get it cheap enough.
Absolutely.
For free.
Yeah, that's why there are people who I know personally, their entire business model is I get stuff for free. So they put their time instead of their money in, right? So instead of going out and spending money and being able to get, 800 pounds of clothing like I do at one whack, they will spend hours and hours looking at, the free sites on Facebook, Craigslist, Curb Alerts,
Yeah.
and they will go around and get all the free things and then sell those. So if you're somebody and you're just getting into this business, that can really be an avenue to pursue. I can remember my dad would say to me, do you have more money than time or time than money? Well,
Yeah.
for a long, long time, I had way more time than money, right? So I would spend my time trying to make more profits because I couldn't afford to pay up for the stuff. Now I could, I just choose not to because it's just my business model and it works for me. And that might change. I'm actually thinking about changing some stuff around. So who knows what I'll do. But for when you first get in, if you can't get enough money, think about the free stuff. Tommy says, are most things profitable? Listen, I think Tommy's idea of profitable may be different than Crystal and I. Crystal and I are both volume sellers. And so I think when you're a volume seller, you kind of think of the day as like, this is one day, it's all the volume. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't look, I don't anyways. I'd be interested if Crystal doesn't. I don't worry so much if I only made $2 on one shirt, but I made $40 on that shirt. So to me, I think about, all right, for the day, I would just average it out. If I sold 4 items and I made $100, do you get what I'm saying? I made $25 an item, even if one only sold for 15 or 10. And I do that because I believe that volume helps you sell more. So the velocity in your store matters. So
Yeah.
the more you sell, the more you'll sell. So I am okay with letting stuff go sometimes and not having the biggest profit margin because I know it's going to mean more sales.
Well, and yeah, I mean, what you're saying exactly is sales lead to more sales. My profit margin is usually $5 to $10, which again I'm okay with because most of my books I have for free or I've had forever. And I was going back and forth with a guy today on Depop over a book, and we settled on something, but you know it was a reasonable settlement for me. And I was thinking too, is it's nice to get the sale, maybe develop a future customer. But Spirit Junkie makes an interesting point. I've encountered this too. I always feel uncomfortable when a buyer tells me I have mislabeled an item. They are the expert and I'm just an everything seller. Sometimes that happens. Usually people are cool about it. You get a little, that's thus my Star Wars example. But usually
So
people are cool about it, or sometimes they'll even give you a little heads up, like, oh, hey, by the way. Or they'll be like I used to be when I would buy a lot of books. It's like sometimes you go somewhere and you find something is a deal, and you're like, I would like to purchase this out of print Dune encyclopedia you have priced at $2, please.
yeah, he's like, great, buddy, buy it for $2 and get out of my store. And you're like, oh, it's like that commercial. Start the car, start
Yeah.
the car, start the car.
I like Kim's comment. You can also go to your inventory for last minute Christmas gifts. That
See,
is,
that's true, Kim, except for I sell all used clothing, so I really feel bad when I give people stuff out of there. I do have some new stuff. Maybe I'll look through my new tag stuff. But I thought what Spirit Junkie is interesting. I think that there are people, especially on eBay, who believe that they're superior to us and that they want things done a certain way, and they don't like when they feel like we haven't put whatever they're selling in the best light. I most of the time I just ignore these people, and if I look at their store and they're, really an expert in this, sometimes I take their advice. A lot of times I think they're just full of crud.
so yeah, sometimes you'll be surprised. You'll go over there, you'll see crappy photos and
Yeah.
things like that. One thing that popped into too is, thinking about customer demand and trends too, is like a couple of years ago, we all went through this thing, COVID, where stuff was shut down to various degrees, and it came out, people were buying board games because we were all locked up in our houses, board games, video games, puzzles, things like that. So a lot of people will go source, and sell the puzzles, and all that stuff sold very well, kind of taking advantage of that demand during that type of thing when we were all kind of sedentary and locked up.
Right. Right. So do you think that should if people are going to look for new items to sell, how do you think they should go about it? Do you look for something? I really think it's the sourcing that comes first. I think you've got to figure out what you are able to get.
Well, it's interesting too. So we talked about this earlier, but there's all kinds of sellers like off the top of my head, Commonwealth Picker is always posting, sourcing stuff and garage sales. And he was on the Seller Community Podcast way back, and he said there's this whole area he goes to that there's always sales at some highway or something, and there's always sales, and he'll go and with that you'll find a lot of stuff that people are moving and just trying to get rid of. So they're going to unload it, super quick. And you'll find a lot of interesting things there. Estate sales, retail clearance
Here's the
stuff.
thing, though. Yeah, let me just say this about Commonwealth and other YouTube people. I feel like it's harder to take what they do and emulate it because they are a lot of times making content while they're sourcing.
Oh yeah.
So they will look, this has an interesting story or this is a high value item. And it really doesn't matter if it's going to take a crap ton long time to sell or if they don't know anything about it because they have the ability to put the time and the effort into figuring it out. So I think we need to be careful about watching people who sell everything, as in like Commonwealth Picker, the Roots. There are other people who do, like come thrift with me or come, yard sale with me. Because it seems like you see a lot of home runs. And the reason they can have a lot of home runs is because they don't have to have a big store filled with things. So they're selling stuff every day because they're getting their money other ways. So they're getting their money through YouTube or they're getting their money through Patreon or they're getting their money through subscriptions. And so that's just one facet of their building, one facet of their business. Somebody like Kat, the Nurse Flipper, I think her content is much more like she'll show things that sell for $25, right? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think you just need to make sure when you're looking at these things that you look at the big picture of who it is, what they're saying to you, and if you're able to find those things over and over and over again.
There you go. Spirit Junkie makes an interesting point that I know or I read about a bit. I'm curious about this tariff coming. There's going to be a bunch of tariffs coming and how you think it might impact niche sellers and categories. So the interesting thing about the tariffs, I think that people don't realize is the countries that have the tariffs on them aren't paying the fees. The people over here, the companies here, the people here are going to be paying the fees. The interesting thing is I think it's really going to affect drop shippers who are maybe sourcing stuff from China, things like that. But I think what's going to happen is, and this is what I think people don't really think about. They think about we get a lot of lumber and building materials from Canada. So if there's tariffs on that, it makes houses more expensive to build. For someone like me, Corona beer is imported from Mexico.
It's terrible.
Avocados.
It's terrible.
So those prices are going to go up, and I think what's going to happen is prices on everything are going up, whether it's inflated or whether it's real or not, and then sellers are going to raise their prices as well. So it's gonna be interesting, and we're going to see how.
I think it is going to help used sellers. I think that this may actually.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with Tommy. I actually think that this may be a little pandemic-like in the sense of that people can't get the goods they want. And so they are going to go to alternative sources, i.e. eBay, Poshmark, wherever. So if getting the new items doesn't work, you'll look for alternatives. And if the alternatives, we have an abundance of stuff here. So I think it's too early to tell. I mean, he hasn't even been sworn in yet. So, who the hell knows what will happen between now and then. But it's an interesting thing. And I wonder if it will really affect the majority of resellers. I think it might actually help the majority of resellers.
Good. And then yeah, so a tariff is, and Todd makes a point. The bottom line intent is to pull manufacturers back to the US to source US stuff, but there's some stuff that is hard to source in the US or can't be sourced. But basically, a tariff is a fee put on by our government on goods coming from like China and Mexico and Canada and other countries. And the bottom line intent is to, bring that money back, but we will wind up paying more for that kind of stuff. If you want that stuff, that's like if you want to buy not a Tesla, because I think he's going to be okay. But if you want to buy, they're saying too, like computers have certain kind of chips that come from different spots. So computers are
Right.
going to go up. Household appliances are going to go up. Apparently, eggs have gone up. There's a crazy run on eggs. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's going to be. I don't want to go too far. I think it's going to be crazy, but we'll have to see. But I kind of agree too. Is like it may push some people to source from stuff they have. They say we all have thousands of dollars of stuff in our house that we could sell, and a
Yeah,
lot of people just don't know what to do or how to do it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, it'll be an interesting thing to see what happens. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it. I don't mean it like that, but it's going to be interesting. And I think it may help us, as selfish as that sounds. I really do. Um, so But I would like to say that this is a reason that, and not specifically the tariffs, but just in general, building relationships is so important.
Yeah.
Having people who know you're interested in their goods, that you have a good relationship with, that you do what you say, that you show up when you say you're going to show up, and that you know, whether it be other resellers, wholesalers, regular businesses, if you're somebody who does retail arbitrage, that they know, oh, like, well, this is getting low, let's call Trish. We know she'll take it all. Um, don't be somebody who goes in and picks all the best stuff and leaves the rest, right? Don't, because they're never going to call you back. That's not what they're looking for. The estate sale people, if somebody from the estate sale calls you, take as much as you can that's reasonable and at a good price, so that the next time it happens, they'll call them. It needs to be a mutually beneficial experience
Yeah.
for both of you.
There you go. Friends and family
Um,
discount.
yep,
Expand your connections.
exactly.
Well,
That is really going to be helpful.
yeah, exactly. And I'm just thinking too. It just popped into my head. Is like I know sellers that they go to Target and Walmart and they like toy stuff. They see what's discounted after a while and they'll take that and resell it. So the prices on that kind of stuff will likely go up. So that'll get passed on. But if you go to like your local thrift stores, your garage sales, things like that, you may be safe. Gina's going to clean out the house, ladies and gentlemen.
No. Gina just said, now I have tons I don't want because of that. So here's the thing. I get what Gina's saying completely, but I've done it myself. And when I first started, I did this. I had some connections. I would literally leave the estate sale and I would go to the Savers parking lot and I would sort it in the Savers parking lot. And anything I didn't want, I brought in right then and got my 20% off coupon and left with it. Because I didn't want to bring it back to my house. Okay. Because once it was at my house, I felt like I had to list it. So, but because I took everything, I didn't put the guy in a position where he then had to clear out the clothes. I took all the clothes, they're out of it. He doesn't have to worry about it. And so it made me in a position where then I culled it myself. Cull, culled it myself. And I got rid of it right then, and I didn't bring it back to my house. So I understand what Gina's saying. And I did that for a short amount of time, and then I never did it again. So I would just go back, and I had those big IKEA bags, and I would make my processes right then. And then that's where they would stay.
And so you go back into the savers and sell the stuff back?
Not save it. I would just donate it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
It's like a Salvation Army. So I would just donate it that day, and you would get a 20% off coupon when you donated stuff. So I would go in, give them the stuff, and take my 20% off coupon. And then that way I wasn't bringing stuff back to my house that wasn't sellable or that I didn't want to sell.
Very good. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we're coming to near the end of our hour, and we've got we didn't get through all our points again, but I think we did. I mean, the conversation kind of steered itself. We talked a lot about niches and niches. Melissa's here late. Unbelievable. Just kidding. Shoot, I'll have to re-listen. Sounds right up my alley too. I posted a question on the LP Facebook page last week that sounds like what you're talking about.
What did you ask last week, Melissa? Just out of curiosity. I don't think I saw it. If you haven't seen my post, please check. I'll go look.
And yeah, Melissa, so that is the beauty, is like, yes, it's live. So you can experience the experience live, like seeing a concert live, but then after you can buy the VHS videotape of the
VHS videotape. Okay.
Replay it over and over.
Doug, it was lovely as usual.
Yes. Thank you.
I hope you have a lovely evening. Hope everyone has fun. I hope everyone is almost ready for the holidays. Are you ready for the holidays, Doug?
Yeah. I mean, I am a dude and a husband, and we always go back. Can you hear me?
You always what?
We always go back and forth. Are we getting stuff for Christmas for each other? We always go back.
Just get her stuff. Don't play that game.
I know I'm not that stupid, but
so we're going to be here. Is Wednesday Christmas or is Wednesday Christmas Eve?
Wednesday's Christmas.
Okay, so we're not going to be here on Christmas.
No.
But I think I'll probably do a Friday live on Friday.
At Trish's end of the year, I'm taking over a wrap up. You'll be like the lone DJ in the jazz music studio.
Probably. So yes. I'll probably do something on Christmas just for the heck. I mean, on that Friday, just for the heck of it. And on Tuesday, we're going to do Mastermind in the morning, and we'll do goals in the morning, but I don't think we'll have goals in the afternoon.
All right. You're like, retailers 10 years ago, forcing the people to work.
That's me.
But I'm taking next week off. I'm going to do some house stuff, try to maintain my listing schedule. I'm going to kick back a bit. Probably go to some wineries.
Aw, your life's so hard, Doug.
I know, it's very tough. It is very tough to be me. You'd be surprised. But
I'll be working, guys. So I'll be here all week. So if anybody needs anything, let me know.
Trish will be here. She'll be playing Led Zeppelin on the jazz radio show and playing Miles Davis on the rock show. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, everybody. Or she'll do, I think you should do Trish's end of the year wrap up.
Recap? Okay, maybe I will. I think Clara might want to do it with me. We'll see.
All right, that would be fun. But everybody, happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Everyone have a great week.
Oh, yeah. Wait, stop the show, Trish. I apologize. I cannot let you go right now because I have an opportunity to tell another story. Time for me to get back to listening to Depeche Mode's 101. So Todd may know this, but it's a fantastic live album by the band Depeche Mode, recorded at the fabulous Pasadena Rose Bowl, June 18th, 1988. Coincidentally, my 18th birthday. And guess what, Trish?
What?
I was at the show.
So good.
It's amazing. I like to think you can hear me screaming, the high-pitched scream of
I'm sure that high-pitched scream that sounded like a girl was you.
teenage girl, yes. But I don't think you can see me in the concert film. But there is a Duran Duran concert film you can see me in. But that's for another day.
Oh, he is not happy about that.
Thank you so much, Todd. No, it's a great live album, actually. Happy
All right,
holidays.
everybody. Have a great holiday.
All right. We will we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Thanks
guys.
for watching. Thanks for listening.